All right, good morning. How are you guys? Welcome back. You have that feeling of like when you're back from summer, you're just discombobulated. I have that and more because I was just on sabbatical in the spring. So like it's been almost a year since I've been teaching a class, standing in front of anybody. Um, so yeah, it was kind of like a long summer. It was working and everything, but still, so pardon me if I'm a little slow today. Also, part of the slowness here, we didn't have the course loaded into Workday, um, and therefore it's not even in Moodle yet. So I don't even have a roster. I should know you guys. I know there are supposed to be 7 people who have signed up for the class so far, and I have been told that we're going through with it, even though that's normally too small. But I've been told we're going through with it, which means we'll talk a lot about it. But that means we're going forward with the trip to Nicaragua, which is optional. And I don't know. And you probably saw the email that I blasted out. I forgot to ask for names there, so I don't even know who's interested. So I'm just a little bit discombobulated. So please bear with me. I'm going to kind of try to figure these things out. Good morning. And hopefully everybody finds us because the course listing, right? It's on Workday. That's how I found it. So hopefully everybody finds it. You guys know anybody else that's expecting to be here?
Yes, my friend.
Okay.
So she's walking
Gotcha.
around.
Okay.
She said she's
Okay. Yeah. Ouch. Good. Okay. So I will not take attendance, but take a preliminary roster, so I know actually who's here and remind myself. I should know all your names, but like I said, it's a sabbatical. I'm just like, my brain is not all the way with us. I'm just going to ask everybody once we're all here. Anyway, this is the course. I'll go ahead and just talk about the course, and this is recorded, so anybody who's missing can catch up on it. This is environmental engineering. Obviously, this is water and wastewater treatment in developing countries, 4156. I've applied to have this certified as a CI course, so if you're in the communications, the CXC program, that will matter to you. If not, maybe it doesn't matter too much, but just so you know, it is communications heavy, meaning we'll do some writing, good morning, and we'll do some presenting. And in general, we'll do some discussions and kind of hopefully have a little bit more than just a lecture heavy class. There will be some of it will just be me lecturing. Some of it will be you guys presenting to one another. Hopefully we'll have some lively discussions. As we'll talk about, my aim is to take what can be pretty difficult topics in terms of how do we provide aid in developing context or resource scarce settings. There's a lot more than just the engineering that shows up. Right? There are social aspects, there are cultural aspects, there are religious aspects, there are political aspects. So it gets a lot wider than just, okay, what engineering solution do we need? So we're going to take an approach. My aim, we'll talk more about it, is to practice that, the ability to communicate, both listening and whether it's speaking or writing or delivering the information, so that we can better tackle all of those aspects. Okay, I am recommending strongly this textbook here. I forgot to bring it with me, but I believe it's available for you on the library as well. This is a nice field guide. It's a paperback. I'll bring it with me probably Thursday, if I can remember to. So we'll be going through a fair bit of this book. It's a little bit dated now, but it has some very practical relatively simple. Good morning. Things I recommend you just go ahead and get it. It's not super expensive, and if this field is at all interesting to you, if you are kind of curious about, let's say, design of a wastewater lagoon, like a very simple one, this would give you some kind of parameters or some baseline to work with. Okay, so that's the textbook. There's a couple other recommended readings. You're welcome to make use of it if you'd like. The Rational Optimist, How Prosperity Evolves. I found this personally to be a really incredible read. Matt Ridley's a great writer and thinker. He's had a career as, I believe, sort of a ecologist plus some environmental journalism or biology related things. And he makes the case, well, made the case back in 2010 even, that some of the worldwide concerns that we have, there are more positive ways to look at it, and we can learn a lot about how to continue progress from that. Another good one, The Last Taboo, kind of the sanitation crisis. So the taboo of not talking about wastewater, basically, where it comes from, how do you deal with it, and so it's kind of more of like a cultural look at what's going wrong with sanitation. And this last one, this is particularly if anybody's interested in kind of the religious aspects, but I'll reference the idea sometimes when helping hurts. So sometimes people, as we'll talk about, you want to intervene. You want to do something to help people, but if you're doing it blindly without thinking about, without talking to perhaps, without listening to who you're trying to help, well, you might be actually hurting. And so the book kind of dives into that, and is a kind of you might be hurting them, you might be hurting yourself, kind of not caring for the important dynamics there. Okay, so those are some recommended readings. We'll probably talk about, maybe even look at some of a bit of The Rational Optimist or things like that. Objectives are pretty straightforward. I kind of already mentioned, we're aiming to get a scope of how to do development work, engineering context, but dealing with all the other things that complicate real and practical help as we think about it. Of course, this is all water and wastewater related, but we're going to go beyond to look at ethical, how ethics and technology and culture, all of these things can overlap. Okay, and I mentioned the articulating the communications aspects. Grading is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to have a term paper. I'm going to revise a little bit my my rubric for that, but essentially the criteria here, based in part by the CXC requirements, is that it's something you build over time, something that you get feedback on. We're probably going to do some peer feedback, maybe write a thesis statement and review some of your each other's peer, research statements. This is something that I will give you feedback that you can build on over time. And one thing that I'm thinking I might change is to add in a component, and we'll talk about this, but if you're interested, to have your own draft and then send it to AI to give you feedback and see what you learn from that. What I don't want is for you to go straight to AI. Okay, so if we're going to use it, which I'm thinking we might, it would be another source of feedback, another technique to improve your writing. Okay, likewise, it could be useful to improve your research. Right, so I'm going to ask that you go to the LSU library, to go to a database of scientific journals to find the articles and to learn how to cite them. Going to give you probably an entire lecture and workshop session on doing just that, to get you, make sure you're comfortable and familiar. And then you can enhance those skills and kind of give me some feedback about, okay, did this help you find some articles you hadn't thought about? What was that experience like? Okay, so there's going to be a term paper. By the end of it, the term paper will be good quality, is the aim. And so that means most of the grade will have been something you've been working on and revising to that point. And in fact, a bad first draft is a good thing because then I can see your real progress. Okay, not to say don't pay attention to it, but we will build, and I won't be grading the full thing the first time. Class participation, I expect you to be here. I briefly mentioned, but I also do offer the course virtually in a sense that I'm live streaming right now. I'll pull up YouTube in a moment. That's partly for your convenience, partly for my convenience. You know, you'll have the notes. It'll be there. If I ever covered a topic that I wanted to share with somebody or to cover for you, it's there. Okay, so that's what I use it for. But I do expect you to be here and to participate in class. Okay, so if, for example, you were needed to be absent, maybe you're going to an interview, maybe you're sick, something. As a professional situation, you talk to me about that. You let me know you're going to be absent. Maybe you even say, hey, I think I can catch your live stream. I'll make a comment there, or I'll catch up later. Discussing with me, kind of double checking, maybe we have a guest lecture, I won't be here, maybe it won't be recorded. Maybe I planned an in-class discussion so I could then ask you, hey, would you mind giving me your thoughts on this? And we'll talk about that. Right, so be involved is what I expect, okay? And be here if at all possible. If you are joining for the field trip, again, this is optional. The deal with the optional study abroad, this is a kind of a study abroad course, okay? But that part of it is optional. You're not getting extra credit for it. You're not getting any more course credit for it, but it's tied to this course. If you go on that, the only thing I can do grade-wise is, because the grades have to be the same for the course, is to tell you that, well, I expect professional behavior, and if that's not the case, you may lose participation points. Okay, so I'm not at all discouraging you from joining if you're able to and interested, but that's, that would be part of the one tie-in for grades. So you could lose points, but that's not likely. Okay, presentations, coming back up here, they're also equally weighted. We will also have a final exam just to kind of cover the grading scheme. Presentations, we're going to work on projects related to, specifically with Nicaragua. I think we have a small enough group. I've got 2, possibly 3 projects in mind that they could use some help with, that could tie in anybody that goes on the trip will be a part of, but anybody who's not can also be a part of, okay, is this really a cost-effective intervention that we are working on down there, and do some analysis like that. So you'll see more of that. My hope is to have everybody involved who wants, and interested in that we are doing something that may really be helpful. Okay, that's my aim. But we'll talk more about the selection of projects. We also have small enough group that normally I do it as a group projects, but I think we will, but maybe only 2 or 3 people per group. Okay, we'll just have one final exam then at the end of the semester. And what that'll do, it won't be incredibly computational. It will be some written, some kind of reflection. How would you deal with this particular situation? It will bring in some computation. You guys have learned a lot of engineering by now. You know some water and wastewater treatment, and we will cover some things. So we will have a combination of things going into that. Going to use Moodle once I have access, once it exists. Academic dishonesty, I will make it clear what I consider cheating with the AI versus what I consider as using it as a proper tool. But the general statement is no academic dishonesty, right? Okay, tentative look at the course. We're going to get ourselves kind of warmed up, defining what is development, what is this that we are aiming to do. Talk a little bit about how development and progress happens. What's the calculus there, so to speak. And then launch into some environmental engineering kind of alongside or just after those types of discussions. So we'll first cover some point of use, POU technologies, kind of build that into kind of a baseline set of how would we treat water if we just had to grab it from a river? How would we do it if we only had these resources? And consider, okay, at a particular point, and that'll give us the way to consider, well, what if we do have a community-wide system? Like small communities all having water from the same place. Go from there into kind of waste and sanitation. I have a fall break, should be the October 8th. The study abroad trip is that last week of October. So it would be leaving Saturday, October 24th, and returning, I think, Halloween, October 31st. Have some time to come back, share what happened, what we did with everybody, and kind of think about that in the context of our class, and then move on to some more innovative technologies, some time for presentations, things like that. So you'll have the syllabus as soon as I'm able to send it to you. Like I said, I don't even have a roster yet. So we will get there. Hopefully Moodle will be up shortly. Any questions on the syllabus? Okay, so I'm just gonna ask you to do me a favor. I've got Excel up to draft a quick roster. Can we just go with names? Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Jesse.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, and I promise I will know all of your names if I didn't already. Okay, so let's get to a quick little introduction. All right. So, welcome. I'm going to ask you a few more questions about yourselves in a moment. I'll give you a quick little recap of me. And I've got a photo here from the very first time I went to Nicaragua. Hung out with these two little precious kids. This was a long time ago now. I guess this would be 15 years ago. Kind of crazy for me to think about. I was in grad school. And I was born and raised in Georgia. So I was at Georgia Tech, went on a field trip. I had heard about it through Engineers Without Borders. It was a religious organization that was going that I had no affiliation with. I'll go ahead and tell you my background now, and also tell you that for the purpose of the class and for the purpose of being your professor, I'm going to essentially act in every way agnostic. Okay, that's my role as a public instructor. That's my job. You don't need me to be, teaching you or proselytizing or whatever about religion, right? We'll talk about it as a relevant course topic. I do, because you'll see it probably it's relevant, and if we go in the course and all, I do consider myself a Christian. That's my own personal belief. Outside the classroom, I don't mind talking with you about that, but for all intents and purposes, and for whoever goes on the course or on the trip, even though it's a religious organization, they welcome anybody, regardless of religion, and they do a good job with that. They bring, they've had Dell company trips, they've had medical brigades, all sorts of people that just want to help. So they're very good about that, but they are, the organization is called Amigas for Christ. You're not getting away from the religious aspect. And there are many religions and religious organizations that promote development, right? That are involved with water and wastewater treatment as a way to help people, right? So in some ways, we're not going to get, that's going to be around in the course. But just wanted to let you know, you're always welcome to send me a note if you felt like something was uncomfortable or perhaps inappropriate. My aim is to show up effectively agnostic, okay? And you're welcome to respectfully point out any criticism or point out any issues you see with, hey, you know, I don't think this is a good way to go about things. It could be a religion, could be culture, any of that. Okay, so we want to be open and considering these things on the basis of ideas. So anyway, back to my first trip to Nicaragua. It was the Catholic Center at Georgia Tech. I don't consider myself Catholic. Knew nobody on the group, but I had heard about this thing from Engineers Without Borders, and it sounded pretty cool. So I joined, had no idea what to expect, and spent a week in Nicaragua. It was really cool. And the following year, I convinced my PhD advisor to bring students because he and I had already talked about that kind of thing. So we ended up bringing a course a lot like this for the following 2 years with students going there. So back in, must have been 2012 was the first time I helped bring students down there. And then the following year, 2013. And then 2 years ago, as a professor at LSU, I finally brought a group. Been teaching this class since I guess 2018 was probably the first time. I arrived at LSU in 2016, and so I'm excited to share some of this with you. Obviously, it's been a pretty important and pretty motivating part of my career. Okay, so and I think that probably all of you are at least somewhat motivated to help people being in environmental engineering. That's very typical, and so this is something that excites me to really to be able to do that and see that. Okay, so I got your name. So let's go around again. And where did you grow up? And what in particular motivates you about the course? And we'll go reverse order.
Honestly, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
But also, like, I am actually, I guess, just help.
Mm-hmm. That might also be why we're allowed to have the course, because you give it all the situation. So, thank you. Yeah.
I grew up in Illinois. Of course, we had in our major and more growth.
I took a course probably class offering.
Great. Right.
Connections.
Yeah. Okay.
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and but I always wanted to.
Awesome.
I grew up in New Orleans.
Great.
In Baton Rouge, I'd say I'm pretty interested in wastewater, but the idea of applying it somewhere else.
Okay. Great. So everybody says wastewater, no drinking water. I know you get it lumped in. I know. it's funny because it shows up as just wastewater on the civil engineering flow chart. And so all the civil engineers show up to the 3110 class and just call it wastewater. So I'm always like, no, guys, it's water and wastewater. Okay. All right, so some expectations for the class. I talked a little bit about this already on the syllabus, but I'd really like to encourage us to have a growth mindset. Right? The world of stuff beyond engineering that affects how we implement engineering is pretty huge. None of us, I don't think, went to study politics or ethics or religion or social dynamics or any of that, but we kind of have to deal with some of it. And, you know, it can be frustrating if we have some strong concern or some strong point of view and somebody else just sees something so different and we think they're just wrong. Right? Maybe you think that about me when I talk about something. It could be very frustrating. So what I want is for us to have a growth mindset to say, okay, what can I learn even if this is feeling so weird? What can I learn if I'm asked to express an opinion that I don't actually have? Right? Maybe I task you with, okay, make the case for what good a dictatorship can do, right? Maybe maybe we practice some perspectives like that. Well, Nicaragua does have kind of a dictatorship. Thankfully, it's been a little bit benevolent, so they've done some infrastructure projects at least. So, okay, that's maybe not the most comfortable thing, but I can say they've electrified almost their entire country now, which is huge. So sometimes we'll have a situation where we want to be constructive, but we have some criticism, right? Or maybe we just want to be critical about something, but it's useful to think about how can we be constructive with it, right? So if there's any contentious topics, let's aim for constructive criticism. If we're reviewing each other's work or seeing each other present, let's practice being constructive with the feedback, right? Let's aim to help each other be better communicators. And sometimes that means you're going to listen in a way that's, you're seeing some issues potentially, maybe you're disagreeing, but you could help that person extract their ideas and articulate them better. Okay? I want to value debate here. I want to value argumentation in its scholarly form, right? More like a Socratic method type of thing, asking questions. I want to be able to engage in that type of thing because the topics, the dealing with, politics, maybe corruption, maybe it's drug cartels. Thankfully, not so much in Nicaragua, but whatever it might be, we want to be able to tackle that. Okay, so what we're going to try to do then is to avoid what I'm going to call moralism, right? So we may have moral values, but to hear somebody make an argument, we might think to ourselves, oh, they are so morally inferior for being wrong about that, right? Because you hold a moral value to say, this is the right way to do things, or this is the right kind of thing. They may have a different moral value underpinning what they're looking at. Maybe they're ignorant. Maybe they didn't think about something. Maybe they didn't realize it would have some other consequence that you're thinking about. But chances are, especially in the context of we're trying to do environmental engineering to help people, chances are, no matter the topic, no matter where we're at, people are trying to be helpful. Okay, so we can take that as a grounding, and that certainly requires some humility there. Okay, so